Teaching Marathon 2021. So, after the completion of the cellular level of organization from my previous sessions, today we are going to start with the tissue level of organization. So, the contents of today's presentation are: we'll discuss about the classification of tissues, what are tissues, how they are produced, what are different types of tissues, which includes the epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissues, nervous tissues, and at last we'll study about the epithelial membranes. So how many membranes are present in our body which are lining these tissues. So firstly, let's discuss about the tissues. What are tissues? Tissues are the group of the cells which are having the similar structure and they act together to perform the specific functions. These are made up from the cells. A cell, as I explained earlier, it is the structural and functional unit of the body. It is a fundamental unit of the body which are combined together to form the tissues. Then further, tissues are combined together to form a different organ. For example, let's take an example of a simple cell. For example, cardiomyocytes are present in our body. So these are the cells which are present in our heart. So these two or more cardiocytes will grouped together to act as to form tissues. These tissues are further combined together to form the organ. Example of these organs will be cardiomyocyte will form the heart. Then various organs are grouped together to form the organ system. The example in case of the heart is the organ system will be the cardiovascular system. That system will include the heart as well as the blood vessel. So together all these systems will make up the human body. If we will talk about the human, similarly in case of any organism, different cells are combined to form the tissues, then further they will combine to form the organ, then organs will combine to form the organ system, and eventually they will make up an organism. Next we have the classification of tissues. So based upon their functions, their structure and locations, there are total 4 major type of the tissues, that are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and at last are nervous tissues. So what are animal tissues and how they are classified? So first type we have is epithelial tissue. As I told you, all of the tissues perform the different functions. So the function of the epithelial tissues include the protection, secretion, as well as absorption. So in case of protection, they protect the underlying structures. They are the epithelial tissues. In most cases, they are present above the surface, above any other tissues. So here they play a major role in the protection. Then they also play a major role in the secretion. So they give the secretions, or glandular secretions are there in case of the glandular epithelial tissue, which we will study in detail. Then they are helpful in the absorption, like in case of intestine, in case of the tubules. So various epithelial tissues are present there. They will act as they will absorb the nutrients which we take from our diet. Next we have the connective tissues. So this is the largest type of the tissues which perform a variety of function. So its first function is to support the tissues, as they are lying beneath the epithelial tissues in most cases. That's why their main function is to support these tissues. Their function is also binding and packing. They also bind the underlying structures, or they are also combined with the epithelial tissues, Hence, they perform the binding and packing also. Next, we have the muscular tissues. So, muscular tissues consist the muscles as the name suggests. So, their major function is in the movement and locomotion. So, movement, they help in the movement. They help the body to move. Why? Because they are directly connected with our bones. Okay. So, that's why they are helpful during the locomotion or the movement of the individual. Then at last we have the nervous tissues. So nervous tissues mainly control and coordinate our body. So they consist of the neurons, which are the basic cells which control all our activities via the brain and the spinal cord. So now let's study their types one by one. So epithelial tissues are further divided into simple epithelial tissues and compound epithelial tissue. So the simple epithelial tissue consists of the squamous tissues. Squamous epithelial tissues are those which do have the flattened cells. So the shape of their cell is flat. Next we have is columnar epithelial tissues. The columnar epithelial tissues are tall and a pillar-like cells. So their cell shape is like the column. Next we have our cuboidal epithelial tissues. Then the shape of these tissues will be like a cube. Next we have the ciliated epithelial tissues. Ciliated tissues are the tissues in which the cilia is a thread-like structure which will be present on their surface. Next we have the glandular tissues. Glandular tissues are those which carry the cells that are secretory in nature. That means they produce the secretions. They may be hormones or any other chemicals. So next we have the compound epithelial tissues. Those are the tissues in which there are more than a single layer of the cells. So these layers, size and of the cells may be vary. Some cells may be small or some cells may be larger in size. Next, we have the classification of the connective tissues. The connective tissues are further classified as connective tissue proper, supportive connective tissue, dense connective tissues, and fluid connective tissue. So, the connective tissue proper includes the areolar tissues as well as the adipose tissue. So, further, the supporting connective tissue includes the cartilage and the bone. Dense connective tissue includes tendon and the ligaments. And fluid connective tissue includes the blood and the lymph. So, this is the composition of a blood and the lymph. A blood consists of the non-cellular component, that is plasma, which is a clear fluid present inside the blood, and other components are the cellular component. So the cellular component of the blood includes red blood cells, also known as erythrocyte. Next are white blood cells, also known as WBCs. Next are platelets, also known as thrombocytes. Then the composition of the lymph. The composition of the lymph is quite similar to the blood plasma, or we can say that in the composition of the lymph, plasma plays a major role. Plasma is there along with the white blood cells. They are devoid of the RBCs and platelets. Next we do have is nervous tissue. So nervous tissue contains two types of cells, that are neurons and the glial cells. But the if we talk about the functional point of view, then the neurons are the only nervous tissues which are excitable in nature. That means which are able to perform the or able to give the electrical signals or electrical impulses. So a typical neuron is divided into three main parts. The first part of the neuron is a cytone or a cell body. The cell body of a neuron consists of a nucleus. Then further it has a long tail which is known as axon. The electrical signal move along the downwards the length of this axon. This is also known as the nerve fiber. Then at last the part of the neuron is dendrites or a dendron. So dendrites surround the are projections from the cell body. So they receive the signal or the chemicals and they move it to the cell body and then down the length of the axon. So let's elaborate epithelial tissue at first. So epithelial tissue is the first type of the tissue. It is also known as epithelia. Epithelial tissue or epithelium consists of the cells which are arranged in the continuous sheets. They may be single or in the multiple layers. If they are present in a single layer, they are known as the simple epithelial tissue. But whether if they are present in the multiple layers, here they are known as the compound epithelial tissue or the stratified epithelial tissue. Hence, as we discussed in our previous lecture, so the cells which are present in the epithelial tissues, they are very closely packed or very tightly packed, and they are held together with one another by many type of cell junctions. So as the junctions are present there, mainly tight junctions are also present in the case of intestine. So there is a very low or very little intercellular space present between the adjacent plasma membranes. Why? Because they are held tightly together with the cell junctions. So this group of tissues form the covering and the lining the body cavities. A body cavity is a space, an empty space which surrounds the internal organs. So hollow organs and tubes. It is not covered by any other tissues. That's why epithelial tissues will always have a free surface. Not any other type of tissue will be present above the epithelial tissues. So, hence they play an important role in the excretion, in the protection, glandular secretion, as well as absorption. The tissues receive the nutrients from its underlying membrane that is known as a basement membrane. So, the function of the epithelial tissues includes it serves as the selective barrier which limits or aids the transfer of the substance into and out of the bodies as they are present superficially or above the surface of any other tissues. Hence, it serves as the selective barrier. Okay. So, if the uh, transfer of substance has to occur, for example, the connective tissues are lying beneath the epithelial tissues. So, if anything or any substance has to move to that particular tissue, so then firstly they have to cross this selective barrier provided by the epithelial tissue. Next, their next function is they have a secretory surface which releases the products produced by the cells onto its free surfaces. Next, a protective surface that resists the abrasive or you can say the harmful influence of the environment. So their surface also helps to resist or to remove the harmful effect on the environment. So this is the typical structure of the surface of the epithelial cells and the location of a basement membrane. As I told you that the basement membrane is lying beneath the epithelial tissues. So in this structure we can say this is the epithelium, that is epithelial tissue that is stained pink. So an epithelial tissue has an outer surface or the free surface that is known as the apical surface, and then it has the lateral surface. The term lateral is used for the sides. So the surface which is present along side of the cells is known as the lateral surface. So the very basal surface, there is a surface lying at the end of the or at the base of the epithelial tissue is known as the basal surface. So beneath this epithelial tissue or epithelium, there is a membrane known as the basement membrane. This basement membrane is made up from two types of layers. First one is basal lamina. Second one is the reticular lamina. So beneath this basement membrane, connective tissues are present. As I told you that beneath the epithelial tissue, connective tissues are present. And there is also one thing that epithelial tissues does not contain any blood vessels in their surface. They get its blood supply, etc., or nutrients from the underlying structures, underlying blood vessels which are present in the connective tissues. Here you can see the blood vessel is present on the surface of a connective tissues, as well as the nerve supply is there in case of the connective tissue. So the apical surface which is present on the or the free surface which is present on the surface of the epithelia, it may contains the cilia or the microvilli in some cases. And the lateral surfaces of this epithelial cell, it faces the adjacent cells on either sides. So on either side of the epithelial cell, the lateral surfaces are present, and it may contain various cell junctions which include the tight junctions, the adherent junctions, desmosome, as well as the gap junctions. So the basal surface, the surface which is present beneath the epithelial cells of the deepest layer of epithelial cell, adhere to the extracellular materials such as the basement membrane. So this basement membrane also contains the cell junction that are known as hemidesmosomes. So hemidesmosome is the structure or is the cell junction which connects the basal surface or the basement membrane to the plasma membrane of the epithelial tissue. So the basement membrane is further divided into two types of layer. The first one is the basal lamina and second layer is known as the reticular lamina. So this basal lamina is a thin layer which is present very close to the cells secreted by the epithelial tissues. And it also contains various proteins such as laminin and as well as collagen protein. And it also consists of various glycoproteins and the proteoglycans. Beneath this basal lamina, there is another layer that is known as the reticular lamina. It is close to the underlying connective tissue. So there are two types of layers. The above layer, it will be in close association with the epithelial tissues, and the second layer which will be in the close contact with the epithelial tissues. And this layer is also composed of various proteins such as collagen. These proteins are produced by the connective tissue cells. So there are different cells which are present in the connective tissues. So like fibroblasts, so these are the cells which help in the formation of these proteins such as collagen. So collagen is the protein which maintains the provides the elasticity to the tissues or strength to the tissue. So this is the classification of the epithelial tissue. An epithelial tissue is of two types. It may be a simple epithelial tissues which consist of the single layer of the cells which are arranged on a basal membrane, and it may be stratified epithelial tissue, or it is also known as the compound epithelial tissue. So the simple epithelial tissues are further divided according to the shape of the cells. So it may be squamous epithelial tissues in which the shape of the cells is flattened. It may be cuboidal epithelial tissues. In this, the cells of these tissues are of cube shaped. It may be columnar epithelial tissues in which the shape of the cell is column, like a column. And at last there may be ciliated epithelial tissue. So in case of ciliated epithelial tissue, a cilia is present, which are the hairy projections which helps in the movement. The example of the ciliated epithelial tissues is they are present in our respiratory system, and their main role is to carry the mucus upward or downwards. So now come to stratified epithelial tissues. These are the tissues which contains the several layer of the cells. So first are the stratified squamous epithelial tissue. So in this case also the cells will be flattened, but there will be a number of layer of these cells. So it may be stratified cuboidal. Further, the shape of the cells will remain same, but the number of the layers will increase. Similarly, in case of the stratified columnar epithelial tissue, and further we have the transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium are the tissues which are pear-shaped and which play a major role in the contraction and the relaxation. Okay, these are mainly present in the bladder. Whenever the bladder fills, these tissues contract, and whenever the bladder is empty, so then finally they come to their original shape and they relaxes. Last one, we have the pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. The term pseudo indicates false. So they act as the false stratified columnar epithelium. So they somehow resemble the columnar epithelial tissues. So first we have the simple epithelial tissues. As I explained, these are the tissues which consist of the single layer of the similar cells which are further divided into the 5 types: squamous, cuboidal, columnar and ciliated. Now, squamous epithelium, as you can see in the structure, so there are cells which are flattened in the shape and they lie on a basement membrane above them. So these cells are very tightly packed, or we can say they fit very closely together, like the flat tiles form the thin covering through which the diffusion can occur. Examples include: it forms the lining of the heart, the lining of the blood vessels, alveoli, collecting ducts. So there is one thing to remember: whenever the epithelial tissues are present inside any vessel, or whenever they are lining any vessel, here they are not known as the epithelial tissues. Here they are known as the endothelium. Another type of tissues we have are cuboidal epithelium. As the name suggests, the shape of their cell will be cube shaped, and they will also be closely packed on the basement membrane. The examples include: it is found in the distal convoluted tubules and some of the glands. So distal convoluted tubules are the part of the nephron. So it is mainly involved in the secretion, absorption, as well as the excretion of various substances. And the cells, in the center of the cells, there will be the nucleus, and beneath these tissues, there is the plasma membrane. A basement membrane will be there. Next, we have the columnar epithelium tissues. So, as we can see in the structure, they are also lying on a basement membrane, but the shape of their cell is like a column, and their shape is somehow rectangular, and they are present in the inner lining of the stomach, the trachea, as well as the small intestine. Their main function is to absorb the products of the digestion, and these also secrete the mucus. Mucus is a sticky substance which is secreted by the columnar cells. These cells are also known as the goblet cells. Goblet cells are present in the mucous membrane, from where they secrete the substance that is known as mucus. Next type of tissues we have is ciliated epithelial tissue. So the ciliated epithelial tissues are the one which contains the cilia. Cilia is like the tiny hairs. Okay, so this cilia helps in the movement of a cell. So the movement of the cilia is like a wave. So they propel the contents into the tubes, and they line in one direction only. So we can say that they move in the unison. So ciliated epithelium is found lining the uterine tubes and most of the respiratory passages. Here they focus on the movement of the mucus. So they carry the mucus outwards the respiratory system. Or in case of the uterine tubes, the cilia propels the ova or ovum, that is a female egg, towards the uterus. And in case of the respiratory passages, they propel the mucus towards the throat. Next, we have the compound or the stratified epithelial tissues. The stratified epithelial tissues consist of the multiple layers of the cells. They are mostly present in the area where wear and tear can occur. Where there is a tension, there is a stress to the cells, there they are present. And as they consist of the multiple layer of the cells, so the outermost layer of the cells, they keep on shredding as the cells become aged, and there is a development of new cells, continuous division of the new cells is present. So the further division of compound epithelial tissue is stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal, stratified columnar, transitional epithelium, and at last pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Firstly, stratified squamous epithelium. So there are several layers of the square shaped cells which are present. These are further classified into two types. One are keratinized stratified epithelium, second one are non-keratinized stratified epithelium. As the name suggests, the keratinized stratified epithelium are the ones which contains the uh, structure that is keratin. Keratin is the protein which is very essential for our hair and our nails. So this is also known as the red protein because it is present in the hair and the nail. So it provides the strength to our nail as well as to our hair. Second, we have the non-keratinized stratified epithelium, which do not contain keratin. The example of these type of tissues include the mouth and the esophagus. Next are the stratified cuboidal epithelium, in which there are two or more cube-shaped cells. They are present mainly in the male urethra. So they have a basement membrane and they have the free surface they have a multiple layer of the cube shaped cells. Next, we have the stratified columnar epithelium. These are present in the uterus of the female. So, it consists of various layers of the cells which are having a column shape. Next are the transitional epithelium. Their structure is like the pear. So, their main function is the contraction and the relaxation. Their main example is urinary bladder. So these are present in the bladder. Whenever our bladder is completely filled with the urine, so there may be the stretching of the transitional epithelium. But whenever the bladder will be empty, so these tissues will regain their original shape and further they will be relaxed. Next type of tissues we have is pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So in this case, the nuclei of the cell are at various depths, or we can say that the nuclei are not uniform. As you can see in the picture, in some cases the nucleus is present at the basal surface. In some cells, the nucleus is present on the apical surface or towards the starting phase. So these are known as pseudo stratified. Pseudo means false. So there is the single layer of the cells unlike the other compound epithelial tissues. And some cells may extend to the surface and some do not extend to the surface. That means some cells are smaller and some are larger than the other. The example of these kind of tissues include the upper respiratory tract. Next type of tissues we have the glandular epithelium tissues. So these type of tissues consist of the cylindrical or the columnar cells and these are present in the secretory glands like the salivary glands. Salivary glands are the one which produce the saliva. Saliva is a secretion which kept our mouth wet. It consists of various enzymes or various digestive enzymes like salivary amylase, which is useful in the digestion of the carbohydrates. So, the function of these glandular epithelium is the secretion which is accomplished by the glandular cells. They often lie in the bunches or the clusters deep to the covering and lining of the epithelium. So, the glandular epithelium consists of the glands. A gland is it may be a single cell or the group of the cells which helps in the secretion of various substances. So there may be endocrine gland or the exocrine gland. So as the name suggests, the endocrine glands are the ones which throw their secretions directly inside our blood. That's why they are known as endo. So they do not contain any type of ducts. They are also known as the ductless glands. So their secretion will be directly poured into the blood. Then from the blood, their secretion will be carried out at the desired target site. On the other hand, we have the exocrine glands. These are the glands which have the specific ducts. So then their secretion will be carried out by these ducts to the desired place and their secretion will not be moved directly into the blood. So this is the structure of an endocrine gland. The example of this gland includes the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is the butterfly shaped gland present in our neck. It consists of the thyroid follicle. You can see this is the microscopic image of the thyroid gland which consists thyroid follicle as well as various blood vessels are present in there and their main function is to they store the precursor of the hormones and there are the cells which are stained purple in color. They are the hormone producing cells, hormone producing epithelial cells. Next, we have the microscopic image of the exocrine gland. The example of the exocrine gland includes the skin. So the skin contains the various secretory cells like the sweat glands. Okay, sweat glands are the glands from where the sweat is produced. So it is lying beneath the epidermis of the skin into the dermis of the skin where these glands are present. They glands have the various type of the ducts. We can say that the circular structure denotes the ducts. So these ducts having the empty space inside that is known as the lumen. So this is the transverse section of a lumen which have a multiple layer of the cells. Next we have is comparison between the epithelial tissues and the connective tissue. So next we have to study connective tissues, but before that we should know that what is the difference between two major type of the tissues. One is epithelial and another one is compound epithelium, compound or connective tissue. So as we can see in the image, in case of the epithelial tissues, various cells are present and they lie in very close association to one another. So the purple staining indicates the cells. In case of the connective tissues, the cells are present, but they are present very distant to one another. So in case of the epithelial tissue, the tight junction or the cell junction are present which held the cells very closely. But in case of the connective tissue, the extracellular matrix is present. That's why the cells are very distant to one another. Also, there are no blood vessels present in the epithelial tissue, but in case of the connective tissues, various blood vessels are present, various nerves are present. Then, other we have the the epithelial membranes. An epithelial membrane is formed from the epithelial tissues which is attached to a layer of the connective tissues. As we have seen, firstly the on the outer surface the epithelial tissues are present and beneath them the layer of the connective tissue is present. So they form the epithelial membranes. Sometimes together they form the epithelial membrane. So these membrane consist mucous membrane which secretes mucus, serous membrane, as the name suggests, it secretes a fluid that is known as serous fluid, and another we have is cutaneous membrane, which is also known as skin. So coming to the mucous membrane, as the name suggests, it secretes mucus. So what is mucous membrane? It is also known as mucosa. It lines various body cavities or it is present inside various body cavities which opens directly to the exterior. So it lines the entire digestive tract, entire respiratory tract and reproductive tract as well as the urinary tract. So the cells which help to secrete the mucus are known as the goblet cells. So these cells are present in the epithelial layer of the mucous membrane where they secrete the mucus. Mucus is a slippery fluid and it prevents the cavities from drying out. So it helps the cavities to moisturize. Another function of this mucus is it traps the particles in the respiratory passageways and it also lubricates whenever we intake any kind of the food. Whenever the food is moving towards our GIT, so its main function is the lubrication of that food. Next, one layer, epithelial layer of the tissue is connected, helps in the secretion of the mucus. Then another we have the layer of the connective tissues. So that is known as the lamina propria. So the lamina propria supports the epithelium. It helps the bind helps to bind the epithelium to its underlying structure, that is the structure those are present beneath this the connective tissues. And it also allows the flexibility of the membrane. It affords some protection to the underlying structures. This is the structure of a mucous membrane. As you can see, in case of the gastrointestinal tract, this is the small intestine. This is a section of a small intestine in which the goblet cells are present, which secrete the sticky substance, that is the mucus. So mucus is secreted by the epithelium cells, and beneath these epithelial cells, connective tissues are present, a layer of connective tissues which is lamina propria. The another membrane which comes after the mucous membrane, that is the serous membrane. So a serous membrane can also be known as serosa. It also lines the body cavities, but in case of the serous membrane, they does not open directly to the exterior, unlike the mucous membrane. So the example include here are the thoracic or the abdominal cavities. Thoracic cavity is also known as the chest cavity, and abdominal cavity is the one which is lying beneath the thoracic cavity. So it covers the organs which are within the thoracic or the abdominal cavity. Serous membrane consists of various type of connective tissue, mainly areolar connective tissues, which are covered by the epithelial cells, that are simple squamous epithelium. These are also known as the mesothelium. So there are two layers of the serous membrane. It may be a parietal layer or it may be a visceral layer. So the layer attached to the and lining the cavity is known as parietal layer. The parietal layer is the outer layer, and the layer which covers and which adheres to the organs within the cavity is known as a visceral layer. So the outer is parietal and the inner layer is the visceral layer. So the mesothelium of the serous membrane which secrete the serous fluid. The serous fluid, like the mucus, it is also a fluid which helps in the lubrication, and it allows the organs to glide easily over the surface of the one another and against the walls of the various cavities in which the organ is present. A serous fluid, a consistency of the serous fluid is slightly watery. So the serous membrane which lines the thoracic cavity and covering the lungs is known as pleura. It is also be seen in case of the heart. So the serous membrane, when it lines the heart cavity and whenever it covers the heart, here it is known as the pericardium. Another example we have is peritoneum. So peritoneal layer is also a serous membrane which lines the abdominal cavity and covers the abdominal organs is known as the peritoneal layer. Peritoneal cavity is the largest cavity which is present in our body. So this is the structure of a serous membrane shown with the help of the parietal pleura. Here it is present outside the membrane, it covers the lungs. So firstly we have the parietal pleura, and inside in the internal towards the lungs we have the visceral pleura. So there is the secretion of the serous fluid from the mesothelium, that are the epithelial cells. Next, another type of membrane we have is the cutaneous membrane. So a cutaneous membrane is also known as the skin. Skin is the largest uh, structure of our body which covers our whole body. So it covers entire surface of our body, and it is consists of the superficial portion that is known as the epidermis. And beneath this epidermis, we have a deeper portion or second layer that is known as the dermis. Epidermis does not contain any kind of blood vessels, and uh, is its inner layer, that is the dermis, which consists of various nerves as well as the blood supplies as well as various glands. So the epidermis consists of the keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. The function of this keratinized squamous epithelium is to protect its underlying structures. And further, the dermis consists of the dense irregular connective tissues that are known as the areolar connective tissues. So this is the structure of the skin having two layers. Outer one is called as epidermis and inner one is dermis. Okay. So the dermis contains, as you can see, all of the blood vessels, arteries, veins, nerves, as well as the root of the hairs are also present in the dermis, but they extend through the epidermis and then they are extend outside the skin. They also contains various glands like sebaceous glands, sweat glands. Sweat glands are the one which secrete the sweat, and sebaceous gland are the ones which secrete a secretion that is known as sebum, that is oil. At last, we have is the synovial membrane. Synovial membrane is like the serous membrane. Its consistency is like the serous membrane. Synovial membrane is the one which secretes the synovial fluid. So it lines the structures that do not open to the exterior. Unlike the mucus or unlike the serous and cutaneous membrane, they lack an epithelial tissues, and that's why they are not considered as the epithelial membrane. So the synovial membrane composed of a discontinuous layer of the cells. That cells are known as the synoviocytes. So these synoviocytes secrete some components of the synovial fluid. The function of this synovial fluid is to lubricate and nourishment of the cartilage covering the bone at the movable joints. And it also contains some macrophages which remove the microbes as well as the debris or cell waste from the joint cavity. So the synovial membranes are present where the joints are present. They are present in the lining of the joints where they secrete the fluid known as the synovial fluid, which helps in the lubrication of the joints. So this is the example of the synovial membrane. Here it is a synovial joint. So a synovial joint contains a cavity that contains the synovial fluid. Here these are the two articulating bones, that means two joining bones, but there is a gap that is known as the synovial fluid or synovial cavity is there, which releases the synovial fluid. So this is the synovial membrane. These are the synoviocytes. The cells, synoviocyte, which secrete the synovial fluid. So there are the areolar connective tissues. Collagen fibers are present as well as adipocytes are present, which are the fat cells. Next type of tissues we have is connective tissues. So, a connective tissue is the one which is very abundant and widely distributed tissue in our body. A connective tissue has a variety of the functions. Its function is to bind, support, and strengthen the other body tissues. It protects and insulates the internal organs, and it also serves as the major transport system within the body. The main example of connective tissue is blood in case of the transport system, blood as well as lymph. So blood is a fluid connective tissue which circulates all over in our body and which helps in the transportation of various nutrients, gases, hormones, etc. And the primary location of the stored energy reserve, like adipose or fat tissues, they store the fat, and whenever the body needs energy, so these cells, these stored fat can be utilized or can be broken down to release the energy or ATP molecules. So it is a it is also the main source of the immune responses. Then further, the connective tissue consists of two basic elements, that is a matrix and a cell. So you all are familiar about the cell, but what is a matrix? Matrix is mainly present in the connective tissue. It is also known as the extracellular fluid. That is, the fluid that is present outside the cell is known as matrix. So the matrix is filled, its function is to fill the wide spaces between the cells. Because in case of the connective tissues, cells are very slightly distant to one another. That's why there is the presence of the matrix which fill up the void spaces between these cells. So the matrix consists of the protein based fibers and various ground substances. These fibers may be of very different types. There may be elastic fibers, collagen fibers, reticulin fibers, all are vary in the structure and functions. So the type of cells which are present in the connective tissues include fibroblast, plasma cells, mast cells, adipocyte, and leukocyte. Whenever the term blast is there, blast means formation. So fibroblasts are the cells which helps in the formation of the fibro of various fibers. So these fibers may be reticulin, elastic as well as collagen. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the connective tissues carrying various type of the cells. As we can see, firstly let's start with the fibroblast. So fibroblasts, here the structure can be seen. These are the cells. They are very large and flat in shape, and they move through the connective tissue and secrete various type of the fiber as well as the ground substances. So what is a ground substance? A ground substance is the material which is present between cells as well as fibers. It is made up from water and other organic molecules which includes hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate, glucosamine, etc. The function of these ground substances is to support the cells as well as the fibers and to bind them together with one another. It also provides the medium for the exchange of the substances between the blood as well as the cells. Next, we have the collagen fibers. As I told you, these fibers are secreted by the fibroblasts. The fibers may be collagen fibers, reticular fibers, and the elastic fibers. So the collagen fibers are shown with purple color here or blue color. These are very strong fibers. These are flexible in nature and they occur as bundle of the protein, that is collagen. They are most abundant protein in our body. Next fibers we have is reticular fibers. Reticular fibers are thinner than the collagen fibers. They also made up from the protein collagen and glycoproteins. Their function is to provide the support to the blood vessel walls, and they form the branching networks around various other type of the cells. For example, fat, smooth muscle, and nerve cell. Other example of fiber include the elastic fiber. Here they are shown yellow in color. Elastic fibers are slightly thicker than the reticulin fibers. They are very stretchable, as the name suggests, elastic fibers. So they have the property of the elasticity. Whenever they are stretched, they regain their original conformation as soon as they are released. So these are also made up of the proteins that is known as elastin and the other protein that is known as the fibrillin. They are found in the skin, blood vessel, lungs as well as various tissues. Next, we have the cells that are known as macrophages. So macrophage is the cell which develops from the monocyte. Monocyte is a type of the WBC. So macrophage, the function of them is to destroy any microbe or any bacteria, and they also help to remove the cell waste by the process that is known as phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means cell eating. Next cells we have are the mast cells. So mast cells are very abundantly present along the blood vessels. The function of the mast cell is mainly to produce the histamine. Histamine the is the we can say it is the allergic mediator. It has various functions. It also dilates the smaller blood vessel during the inflammation, and it also helps to kill various types of bacteria. Another cells we have the plasma cells, which develop from the B lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are also the type of the white blood cells. So they secrete various antibodies which attack and neutralize the foreign substances that are known as antigens. So all the antibodies are derived from the B lymphocytes which are contained within the plasma cells. Next type of cells we have the neutrophils. So neutrophils are also the white blood cells which migrate to the site of the infection. Whenever there is an infection, the number of the neutrophils will immediately rise in our body. But whenever the infection is cured, their level will again be normalized. Then another cell we have are the eosinophils. This is also the type of WBCs, and its function is to phagocytosis or to parasitic infection. So they migrated to the sites of the infection and also cause the allergic responses such as inflammation, etc. Last cells we have the adipocytes. So adipocytes are the cells which store the fat. So they are found below the skin where the fat is present and around the organs such as the heart as well as kidney. Another type of connective tissues, the classification of connective tissue is connective tissue proper, supporting connective tissue, and the fluid connective tissues. So here is the connective tissue extracellular matrix. So what does the matrix of the connective tissue contains? It contains two major components that are ground substances as well as the fibers. So what are ground substances? As we learned from our previous slide. So the ground substance may be a fluid, it may be water, it may be semi-fluid, it may be a jelly-like structure, or it may be calcified. Its function is to support the cells. It helps to bind various cells together. It stores water. It provides a medium for the exchange of various substances between the blood as well as the cells. So a ground substance contains the mixture of water and mixture of various organic molecules, which are the combination of the polysaccharide as well as the proteins. The example of the polysaccharide include hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate, dermatan sulfate, as well as the keratin sulfate. So next we have the fibers. The fibers may be of two types, that are collagen elastic as well as reticular fibers. So in next slides when we will discuss about the connective tissues, you will see in each kind of connective tissues various type of fibers are present. Okay. So what are collagen fibers? Collagen fibers are the one which are very strong and they resist the tension, but they are slightly they show slight flexibility and they are not stiffer in nature. Collagen fiber consists of the protein named as collagen. Collagen is the most abundant or widely distributed protein in our body, which is 20%, 25% of the total in body. The collagen fibers are found mainly in the connective tissues, especially bone, cartilage, tendon, and the ligaments. Tendon and the ligament are the structures which ligaments joints various one bone to another, but tendons are the one which joins the muscle to a bone. Another one we have the elastic fibers and reticulin fibers. Elastic fibers are slightly smaller than the collagen fiber. An elastic fiber is the one which consists of the protein named as elastin and the another protein which is a glycoprotein in the nature. It is known as fibrinolin. So its function is to add the strength and the stability. So these are very stretchable. These can be stretched up to 150 times of their strength, and they cannot break after stretching that much. So this ability of the cells to return fibers to return to their original shape after being stretched that much, that is known as elasticity. So they are present mainly in the skin, blood vessels, as well as the lung tissues. Another fibers we have are reticulin fibers. These are the fiber which consist of the protein that is collagen. This collagen protein is arranged in the various fine bundles, and a coating of the glycoprotein molecule is there. It provides the support in the walls of the blood vessels, and it also forms the network around various cells in tissues such as areolar tissue, adipose tissue, nerve fibers, smooth muscle tissues. The function of the reticulin fiber is to provide the support as well as strength. These fibers also help to build the basement membrane. So this is the classification of the connective tissues. These are divided in the connective tissue proper, supporting connective tissues, and the fluid connective tissues. So first one we have is the connective tissue proper. These type of tissues, it may be classified into loose connective tissue or dense connective tissue. What is the difference between a loose and a dense connective tissue? As the name suggests, in case of the loose connective tissue, there are fewer fibers and more ground substance. In case of the denser connected tissue, the fibers are high and the ground substance is less. Example of the loose connective tissue includes areolar tissue, adipose tissue, and reticular tissue. Whereas the example of dense connective tissue includes regular tissue, irregular connective tissue, as well as the elastic tissues. Another one we have is supporting connective tissue. The function of supporting connective tissue is to support the underlying structures or various structures. They consist of the cartilage and the bone. A cartilage is the one which is having a semi-solid matrix, but a bone is the type of supporting connective tissue which has a solid matrix. It is very hard in nature. So cartilage is slightly softer than the bone. The example of the cartilage include the hyaline cartilage, the fibrocartilage, and at last the elastic cartilage. And the example of the bone include a bone may be a compact bone or a spongy bone. A compact bone is the one which is harder in nature, and the spongy bone is the one which is slightly softer than the compact bone. At last, we have is fluid connective tissue. So fluid connective tissue is the one which is liquid in nature. So it includes blood as well as lymph. Let's discuss these connective tissues one by one. First type of tissues we have is the connective tissue proper. These are further divided into two types. First is loose connective tissue, second is dense connective tissue. So in case of loose connective tissues, the fibers are very fewer and they are loosely packed with numerous cells. So cell will be more and the fiber will be lesser. So they are further of three types: areolar, adipose and reticular connective tissues. So what are areolar connective tissues? These are the tissues in which the matrix is semi-solid in nature. It also contains some fat cell as well as some macrophages. And the fibers which are contained within the areolar connective tissues are elastic as well as the reticular fibers, as we can see in the diagram. So the areolar connective tissue consists of the reticular fibers here stained yellow in color. Mast cells are present here. Fibroblasts are here, which helps in the formation of the fibers. Collagen fibers are there. And macrophages, these are the type of WBCs which are present inside the areolar connective tissue. So their location, they are found in the subcutaneous layer. That is, they are found in the skin. They are found around our blood vessels, our nerves, and the blood body organs. The function of areolar tissue is to provide the strength, elasticity, as well as to provide the support to various structures. Next we have is adipose connective tissue. So the adipose tissue are the tissues which are derived from the fibroblast. Fibroblasts are also known as adipocyte. So these are the cells which helps in the formation of the uh, these fibers, and their main function is the storage of the triglyceride that are mainly the fats. The location of the adipose connective tissue is the subcutaneous layer, which is deep into the skin. They are found around the heart as well as kidneys and in the yellow bone marrow and behind the eyeball in our eye socket. Their main function is to reduce the heat loss through the skin. They also serve as the energy reserve, as the fat is stored in case of the adipose tissue. So that's why they reserve this fat, and fats, whenever they are broken down, the energy is released in the form of the ATP. And its function is also to support and protects the organs where they lie. So this is the microscopic view of the adipose connective tissue. So they contains a large globule of the fat. So this is the plasma membrane. This is the cytoplasm of the cell, that is adipocyte, and this in the center there is a fat storage area. Next tissue we have is reticular connective tissue. So a reticular connective tissue is the one which has a semi-solid matrix. It consists of the reticulin fibers, the reticular cells as well as the white blood cells. The reticular tissues are present in the stroma, that is the supporting framework of the liver, in spleen, lymph nodes, red bone marrow, around various blood vessels as well as various muscles. The function of reticular connective tissue is to form the stroma of various organs. It binds the smooth muscle tissue cells. It filters and removes the worn out blood cells in the spleen and microbes in the lymph nodes. So this is the structure of the reticular connective tissue. They consist of the reticulin fibers and they are having the multiple nucleases present in the cells. Next one we have the dense connective tissue. Dense connective tissues are slightly thicker. In this, the fibers are very denser. More fibers are present as comparison to the ground substance. So these are further classified into dense regular tissue, dense irregular tissues, and the elastic connective tissues. So what's first we have is dense regular connective tissue. So what are dense regular connective tissue? In this type, the bundle of the collagen fibers are regularly arranged in the parallel pattern, that is the ligaments and the tendons. What are ligaments? As I told you earlier, a ligament is a structure which joins the bone to the other bone, and on the other hand, a tendon is a structure which joins the muscle to a bone. So, the function of this dense regular connective tissue is to provide the strong attachment between various structures. Next, we have is dense irregular connective tissue. So, what are dense irregular connective tissues? In this, the fibers present are mainly the collagen fibers, and they are irregularly arranged with a few fibroblasts between them. They are located in the sheets such as fasciae. What is fasciae? It is a tissue beneath our skin and around our muscles and various other organs. The fibrous pericardium of the heart, the periosteum of the bone, that is the outer layer of the bone, membrane capsule around various organs such as kidneys, liver, testes, lymph nodes, etc. And these are also found in the heart valves. The function of these connective tissues is to provide the tensile strength in many directions. So, we can see from the image, so these type of connective tissue consists of the collagen fibers as well as the fibroblasts, the blood vessels. Next type we have is elastic connective tissue. So, an elastic connective tissue, as the name suggests, is the one which consists of the elastic fibers. It contains various fibroblasts between their cells. The elastic tissue is quite strong. It is very strong. Whenever it is being stretched, it will further recoils to its original shape. As I explained you earlier, the elastic fibers can be stretched up to 150 times of their original strength. But after being stretching that much, they will further regain their original shape without any harm to these fibers. So the location of the elastic connective tissue is they are present in the lung tissue, they are present in wall of various elastic arteries, in trachea, in bronchial tubules, tubes, in true vocal cord in our this portion. So, the function of the elastic connective tissue includes the stretching of various organs because their main function is nothing but stretching. Hence, the organs which have to be stretched, there the elastic connective tissues will be present. So, this is the section of the elastic connective tissues of the aorta. So it contains the elastic lamellae or elastic sheets of the elastic material, and this is the nucleus of the cells that are known as fibroblasts. Another one we have is supportive connective tissue. So as the name suggests, the supportive connective tissues are the ones which support the various other structures. So they provide structure and strength to our body and they protect the soft tissues. It includes bones and the cartilages. What is a bone now? A bone is the hardest connective tissue present in our body. So why? Because the matrix of a bone is solid. Unlike in case of other tissues, the matrix was either semi-solid or gelatinous base, but in case of the bone, the matrix is quite solid. So the bone consists of the following structures, that is periosteum, a compact bone, a spongy bone, and a bone marrow. So this is the structure of a bone. The outer layer of the outer membrane of the bone is known as periosteum. It is made up from the fibrous tissue. Another is the compact bone. As the name suggests, it is very hard in nature and it contains the dense substance, and it is found just below the periosteum. So the outer layer is periosteum. Beneath that, the compact bone is present, and after that, spongy bone is there. So spongy bone is the porous tissue. It is slightly softer than the compact bone. So next is bone marrow. Bone marrow is also present in the bones. It is mainly present in the longer bone. If we talk about the red bone marrow, so it is the soft materials which fills the hollow interior of the bone. Why? Because on the outer surface of the bone, periosteum is present. Beneath this, compact bone is present, then spongy bone is there, but the remaining area is covered by the bone marrow. This bone marrow is further of two types. It may be yellow bone marrow or it may be a red bone marrow. So their functions are almost different. The function of the red bone marrow is to produce the blood cells, various blood cells such as RBCs, WBCs, as well as the platelets. But the function of the yellow bone marrow is to store the fats. Next, we have our cartilages. So, what is a cartilage? A cartilage is slightly softer than the bone, but it is also a hard structure. It is very tough and flexible skeletal tissue, and it contains the chondrin. Chondrin is the one in which the mature cartilage, the chondrocytes are present. Chondrocytes are the cells which secrete the chondrin. They may occur singly or in various groups within the spaces that is known as the lacunae in the extracellular matrix. So there are three type of the cartilage. First one is hyaline cartilage, second is the fibrocartilage, and next is the last one is the elastic cartilage. So first is hyaline cartilage. A hyaline cartilage is the one in which the matrix is devoid of any kind of the fibers and is transparent. So in case of hyaline cartilage, the cells are arranged in various small groups such as the tip of the nose as well as lymph. In case of the hyaline cartilage, the cells are present like the eggs are present in the nest. So various group of cells are present in the nest. Then further we have is fibrocartilage. A fibrocartilage is the cartilage in which the ground substances contain the thick bundle of the collagen fibers. So the location of the fibrocartilage is the intervertebral discs. Intervertebral discs are present in our vertebral column. Next, we have is elastic cartilage. Elastic cartilage is also similar to the first cartilage, that is the hyaline cartilage, but it contains the network of branching of the collagen fibers. The location of elastic cartilage is the epiglottis. Epiglottis is the structure which is the one which it has a flap like structure which closes whenever we engulf any food, so that our food won't go into the respiratory system. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the cartilage. First we have is the hyaline cartilage. As I told you, in case of the hyaline cartilage, the cell nest is present. The cells are present like the eggs are present in the nest. So its matrix is solid. The cells of the hyaline cartilage are known as chondrocytes. In every case the cells will be known as chondrocytes, but the fibers will be different. Like in case of the fibrocartilage, collagen fibers can be seen, and in case of the elastic fibrocartilage, the elastic fibers are seen. Next type of connective tissue we have is the fluid connective tissue. It is the last type of the connective tissues. A fluid connective tissue is the one which makes the connection between the various organs. So these tissues by their fluid matrix, the matrix in case of the fluid connective tissue will also be the fluid. The connections which are mostly meant for supply of the nutrients. So the fluid connective tissues are the one which carry out the transportation processes in our body. So examples includes our blood and the lymph. So what is a blood? A blood is the main circulating fluid in our body. So it is the type of the fluid connective tissue that is derived from the mesoderm. It is the germ layer of the embryo. There are three types of germ layers in an embryo: ectoderm, endoderm, as well as the mesoderm. So it is the middle layer from which this fluid connective tissue is derived. So, the branch of science which deals with the study of the blood or any blood forming agent or tissues, it is known as the term hematology. Hem word means blood and logy is to study. So, the study of the blood is known as the hematology. In average adult, there is about 5 liter of the blood which constitutes about the 8% of our total body weight, and the viscosity of the blood is 3 to 4 times more viscous than the water. The main functions of the blood includes the transportation, regulation, and the protection. So in case of transportation, the blood transport mainly the gases like carbon dioxide and the oxygen from our lungs to our body, and it also transports various metabolic waste of our body, and it also transports the heat to various organs from the elimination from our body. It also transports various hormones. As I explained earlier, the endocrine hormones are the one which release their secretion directly into the blood. So in that case, the hormones are being transported with the means of blood only. Wherever they are needed, they will travel through the blood to the target cell. Next function of the blood is to transport the various nutrients from the gastrointestinal tract to the cells. Because the nutrients are being absorbed by our gastrointestinal tract, so from that it will be the nutrients will be provided to all cells of our body by means of the blood. From the blood they will be diffused into the cells or to the tissues. Next function of the blood includes the regulation. It helps to regulate the pH through use of various types of buffers. It also helps to regulate our body temperature. Its other function includes the protection. For example, our white blood cells protect against any disease by causing or by carrying on the phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is the process by which the WBCs engulf any microbes which is harmful to our body. They digest it and then throw it out from our cells. So next function is the blood clotting protects the excessive blood loss after injury. Why? Because the blood contains the thrombocyte, that is platelets. Platelets are the main cells which carry out the process that is known as blood clotting. Blood clotting is the process whenever there is any injury, the blood will start flowing from that particular area. But as soon as like 15 seconds after, immediately after the blood flow, the platelets will be gathered there at that site of the injured tissue, and they will form a temporary clot, or they will form a platelet plug, and the blood will cease. So this is the composition of the blood. The blood consists of two type of element. First one are non-cellular component, and second are the cellular component. The cellular component of the blood is also known as formed element of the blood. So uh, the whole blood contains the 55% of the plasma, and the remaining 45% we have the cellular elements. The plasma again consists of mainly 90 to 92% of water, and it also consists of the dissolved substances like amino acids, nutrients, various proteins. It may be albumin, globulin, fibrinogen, etc. And it also carries various electrolytes dissolved in it. Various gases are dissolved in the plasma, and various nitrogenous waste is present in the blood plasma. Another, we have the formed elements of the blood, that means the cellular element of the blood. So it includes mainly three type of the cells. First one are leukocyte, that are also known as WBCs, that is white blood cells. So these white blood cells, leukocytes, are further divided into two types. They may be granulocyte or they may be agranulocyte. So what do you mean by granulocyte? Granulocyte are the type of the WBCs in which the granules are present in the cytoplasm of the cell, whereas the agranulocyte are the one in which there will be no granules present in the cytoplasm of the cell. So the granulocytes are further divided into three types. They may be neutrophil, basophil, or eosinophils. All perform variety of functions such as phagocytosis, etc. The agranulocytes are further divided into lymphocyte, or they may be monocyte. The lymphocyte are further divided into B lymphocyte as well as T lymphocyte. So they are involved in the immune responses. Next type of fluid connective tissue we have is the lymph. So a lymph is a watery fluid. Its composition is very similar to blood plasma, but there is one exception of the plasma proteins. Only the proteins are not present in the lymph, but all the other substances are present, like the dissolved gases, the other composition will be there, water is there. Okay. So its composition is almost similar to the interstitial fluid. So what is the interstitial fluid? It is a fluid which is present inside the tissues. Why its composition is similar to the interstitial fluid? Because the lymph itself is derived from the interstitial fluids. It is formed by the diffusion of the uh, extracellular substance or interstitial fluid into the capillaries. So the function of the lymph is to transport the various plasma proteins which seep out of the capillary bed and back to the bloodstream. So it also carries away the larger particles, that is bacteria, and as well as the cell debris, that is also known as the cell waste, from any damaged tissue. So it also filtered out and destroyed by the lymph nodes. So we can say that the lymph is involved in our immune responses. So it contains the lymphocyte, which are the type of the WBCs. The lymphocyte will continuously circulate in our lymphatic system, and they continuously allow the patrolling of the different regions in our body. They detect whenever there is any infection in our body. So they'll gather here at the infected site, and they will carry out the phagocytosis. So next is the lymph is present in the lacteals of our small intestine. Here their function is to absorb the fatty substances or fat into the lymphatics, and that's why they give the lymph appearance, milky appearance, that is known as chyle. So the lymph present inside the lacteal of our GIT is known as chyle. So that was all about the connective tissues. Next, another type of tissue we have is the muscle tissue. So, muscle tissue is the one which consists of the various tissues such as skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and it may be smooth muscles. So, a skeletal muscle is the tissue which is very soft tissue and consists of the elongated cells that are known as the muscle fibers. The cells of the muscle tissues are also known as myocytes, and they use the ATP to generate various forces. As a result, the muscular tissue produces various body movements. It also maintains the posture, it generates heat, and it also provides the protection. So, this is a diagrammatic representation of the various muscle tissues. So, they may be skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, or they may be cardiac muscle. So, what is the difference between these muscles if we see them microscopically? So, in case of the skeletal as well as the cardiac muscles, the striations can be seen. So what do you mean by striation? These are the stripes, or these are the lines which are present on the surface of the muscles. So in case of skeletal as well as cardiac muscles, the striations are present, but these are absent in the case of the smooth muscles. In every case, the nucleus is present. So first are skeletal muscles. What is a skeletal muscle? It is the uh, first type of the muscle tissues. It is named after being located on the skeletal system. So this is the voluntary muscles of our body. What do you mean by voluntary? That means it is under our conscious control. It is multinucleated and fibrous, so various nucleus are present inside these muscles, and it also contains the bands that are light and darker bands. These are known as the striations. Whenever we see them under a microscope, so the bands are easily visible. The skeletal muscle fibers vary in length. It may be a fewer centimeter in length up to the uh, about nearly about 30 to 40 centimeter, that is about 12 to 16 inches. So in the longest muscles, so this is the location. They are usually attached to the bones with the help of the tendons. So their function is mainly in the motion, posture, heat production, as well as the protection. So these are the skeletal muscles which are present in all over in our in body. So a skeletal muscle consists of the muscle fiber, and it is having the nucleus and striation present on its surface, and it is voluntary in the nature. So the muscle fibers are the one which contains various filament like actin filament or myosin filament. These filaments, these are the contractile proteins which causes a contraction. Our body moves only whenever there is the contraction in our cells. So this contraction is possible with the help of the filament that are actin and myosin filaments. Next type of muscles we have is the cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscle, as the name suggests, these muscles are present only on the heart. So this type of the muscle is present in heart and Like the skeletal muscle, whenever we see them microscopically, the striations are present, but unlike the skeletal muscle, they are involuntary in nature. That means they are not under our conscious control. We cannot move cardiac muscles whenever we want. So the cardiac muscle fibers, what are cardiac muscle fibers? These are the branched and contain one nucleus in the center. So the cardiac muscles also contain the intercalated discs. What are those? These are transverse thickening of the plasma membrane inside the cardiac muscles. So they contains the cell junction that are known as desmosomes and the gap junctions. So the function of the desmosome is to strengthen the tissues and it holds the fibers together during vigorous contraction, as heart is the organ which continuously does the contraction in order to survive, in order to circulate the blood. Contraction is needed. So the desmosomes are the cell junction which held together these tissues, so ever they do not, the cells do not get separated during the contraction. Another type of junction we have are the gap junctions. The function of the gap junction is to provide route for the quick conduction of the electrical signals through the heart. This is the uh, microscopic examination view of the cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscle consists of the cardiac muscle fiber. Here the intercalated discs can be seen. So these are the intercalated discs where the plasma membranes are joined. So these are the striations like the skeletal muscles. Next type of muscles we have is the smooth muscle. A smooth muscle is the one which is located in the walls of the internal organs. They are involuntary in nature and they do not contain any kind of striations. So, smooth muscle fibers is the small and contains centrally located nucleus. They are also non-striated. They are also known as visceral or involuntary muscle tissues. Why? Because they are not under our conscious control. So, the junctions present here are gap junctions. They connect many individual fibers in smooth muscle tissues. For example, the walls of our intestine. Whenever the gap junctions are absent, such as iris of the eye, smooth muscle fibers contract individually because the contraction is not possible without these junctions. So, in that case, like the smooth muscle fibers will contract on their own, like in case of the skeletal muscle fibers. So, the smooth muscles are present in the iris of the eye, the walls of various hollow internal structures like blood vessel, airway to the lungs, stomach, intestine, gallbladder, or urinary bladder, as well as the uterus. The function of the smooth muscles is to constriction of the blood vessels and airways, propulsion of the food through the GIT, contraction of the bladder, urinary bladder, as well as the gallbladder. So, this is the section of the artery in which smooth muscles are present. So, here it can be seen. So, these are present in the layer of the artery. So, the last type of the tissue we have is the nervous tissue. So, what is a nervous tissue? A nervous tissue is the term for the group of the organized cells in the nervous system, in which the organ system control our body's movement and carries the signals to and from the different part of the body. So nervous tissues are present all over in our body. Our nervous system is divided into two parts. It is the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is the one which includes the brain and the spinal cord. So the neurons are present all over in our brain as well as in our spinal cord. So the central system is the one which majorly controls and coordinate all our body system or body functions. And another type of nervous system we have is the peripheral nervous system. So a peripheral nervous system is the one which excluding brain as well as the spinal cord. So the peripheral nervous system is further divided into two types, that is the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system is the one which includes the skeletal muscles. Somatic nervous system is the one which is under our voluntary control. And the another part we have is the peripheral nervous system. It is not under our uh, ANS, that is autonomous nervous system, that is not under our conscious control. So the ANS is further divided into the sympathetic nervous system as well as the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the one which helps, which is also known as the fight or the flight response, and the parasympathetic nervous system is known as the rest and digest. They almost function opposite to one another. Why? Because the parasympathetic nervous system gets activated whenever our body is at rest, whereas the uh, sympathetic nervous system gets activated whenever there is the case of any emergency. So there are two type of the nervous tissues which are present in our nervous system. They may be neurons or they may be neuroglial cells, or simply we can say the glial cells. So what is a neuron and what are neuroglial cells? So the neuron is the one cells or the tissues of the nervous system which are excitable in the nature. Excitable means they are capable to carry out the signals, they are capable to generate or to transmit the nerve impulses, whereas the neuroglial cells are just the supporting cells. They do not carry out any impulses, they do not carry out the conduction or the uh, propagation of the nerve impulses. They are just there to support the glial cells. Although the number of neuroglial cells are more than the neurons, but they only provide the nourishment or the insulation to the neurons. So this is the diagram of a neuron. A neuron consists of three main parts. It is the cell body, which contains the nucleus in the center, and dendrites. These are projections from the cell body. Dendrites are the receiving end of the neuron. The dendrites receive any signals and they transmit this signal along the length of the structure that is known as the axon. And these neurons are of these end are of two types. It is the postsynaptic end or the signal receiving end. The end at the axon terminal is known as the presynaptic end or the dendritic end receive the signals from the neuron. Presynaptic end or the signal releasing end. Why? Because the dendritic end receive the signals from the previous neuron, and here the axon terminal end release the signal to the other neuron, to the neighboring neuron. So the axon of the neuron, it may be, the neurons may be myelinated or non-myelinated. It is depend on the production of the myelin sheath. So a myelinated neuron is the one in which there is the presence of this myelin sheath along the length of the axon, whereas a non-myelinated neuron is the one in which the myelin sheath is absent. So what is this myelin sheath? What is its function? So the myelin sheath is the one which is produced by the Schwann cells, which are the type of the neuroglial cell, which we will study in our next slide. So this, in case of the peripheral nervous system, the Schwann cells are the one which secrete the, or which form the myelin sheath. But oppositely, in case of the central nervous system, another neuroglial cells are there which are known as oligodendrocytes. So in that case, these oligodendrocytes will form the myelin sheath along the, on the surface of the axon. So as we can see, there is a very little space which is present on the, available on the surface of the axon, because almost all the surface is being occupied by the myelin sheath. So in that case, whenever the signaling has to occur, so the electric signals will jump from the one place to the another, because the myelin sheath is the one which is provides the insulation to the neuron. That means any electrical signal cannot pass through the myelin sheath. Hence, if the conduction has to occur, so the electrical signals will jump from the surface of the exposed axon. So this will be jumped from this to this, and these exposed part of the axon here is known as the node of Ranvier. So in case of the myelinated neuron, the propagation will be jumping. So that kind of propagation is known as, the conduction is saltatory conduction. Saltatory means jumping. So it will move from node of Ranvier, so from one node of Ranvier to the another. So this method of conduction, that is saltatory conduction, is much faster than the simple conduction in a non myelinated neurons. So at the end of the axon, we have the axon terminals. What are axon terminals? These are also known as the terminal buttons. These are the one in which the synaptic vesicles are present, or in which the neurotransmitters are being stored, or any chemicals which has to be released into the onto the surface of the another neuron. These are stored, firstly being stored in the axon terminals or synaptical vesicles, and then they are released on the surface of another neuron. So this is the diagram of the neurons. How do they look like in our body? So this is the cell body, round cell body in of the neuron. These are the dendrites, and this is the axon. So firstly, what are neurons? A neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It is the basic fundamental unit of our nervous system. It plays a crucial role in nerve impulses. So a nerve impulse is possible only with the help of a neuron. As I described, a neuron consists of three main parts: a cell body, an axon, and the dendrites. So the cell body of the neuron contains the nucleus and various other cell organelles. And dendrites are highly branched, which usually are the shorter structures. So there are two major receiving portion of the neuron. The axon of the neuron is always single. It is a thin and a cylindrical structure which may be very long. The length of the neuron is always varies. There are very shorter neurons present in our body, as well as various longer neurons present in our body. The longest neuron, the example of longest neuron in our body is the uh, motor neuron, which originates from the spinal cord, and it goes to our legs. Then the function of neuron, it conducts the nerve impulses towards the other neurons, or the place where axon join the cell body is termed as axon hillock. So axon hillock is the structure where the cell body ends and the axon starts. And the cytoplasm which is present in the axon, that is known as exoplasm. Similarly, the membrane which is surrounding the axon is known as exolemma. So axon end by dividing into many fine processes, that is known as axon terminal, and also known as the axon synaptic bulbs. So next we have the neuroglial cells or the glial cells. So as I explained earlier, these are the non-excitable cells which only support other neurons. Neurons are the cells, tissues or cells of the nervous system which carry out the electrical impulses or generate impulses or carry out the conduction, whereas the neuroglial cells are the one which only support these neurons. They provide nourishment to the neurons, blood supply to the neurons. Okay, so there are a total of six type of glial cells, out of which the four are present in our CNS, that is central nervous system, and the remaining two are present in our peripheral nervous system. So the glial cells which are present in our central nervous system, they include astrocyte, oligodendrocyte, microglial cells, and the ependymal cells. So let's discuss them one by one. First of all, this is the diagram of the neuron and the nucleoglia. Here it is shown that the association of the neuron with the neuroglial cells. As we can say, this is the diagram of a neuron. It is the cell body. These are dendrites, and this is the axon. As I told you earlier, oligodendrocytes are the type of the glial cell which make up the myelin sheath. So here they are making up the myelin sheath on the axon. Okay, so this is one neuron, this is the other neuron. So this is the oligodendrocyte. It is forming the myelin sheath on the surface of this neuron as well as on the surface of the other neighboring neuron. Okay, so here it is the astrocyte are present. These are also the glial cell present in the CNS. Okay, it is also, it lies in the close association to the axon as well as to the dendrites. These are microglial cells which lie in the association with the cell body as well as in the to the dendrites. So first we have the astrocyte. What are astrocyte? They are mainly star-shaped cells. They contain various branches. Their main function is they assist in to maintain the chemical environment needed for the generation of the nerve impulses. They also provide nutrients to various neurons. Now, how do they provide the nutrients to a neuron? Because the astrocytes are present. Astrocytes have two feet, or we can say they have two hands. Their one end is attached to a blood vessel or to a capillary, and their another end is attached to a neuron. So they provide the nourishment from they take the nourishment firstly from the capillary, and then they further uh, provide that nourishment to the neurons. So they are present in between the capillary and the neurons. Other type of cells we have is oligodendrocytes. So oligodendrocytes in size they are slightly smaller than the astrocytes which are previously described, and they have the fewer branches. The main function of oligodendrocyte is to maintain the myelin sheath around various neuron or axon of the CNS neuron. So remember one thing, there is a difference. In case of CNS neuron, the myelin sheath is formed by oligodendrocyte, whereas in case of the PNS, the myelin sheath is formed by the Schwann cells. So these are the oligodendrocytes. These are forming the myelin sheath around the neuron, which is clearly visible in the picture. So the next glial cell we have are the microglial cells. A microglial cell, also known as microglia, it is derived from the monocyte. Monocyte are the type of the WBCs which are migrated to the nervous system even before the birth. They protect the CNS from any kind of disease by engulfing the microbes and also clearing out the cell waste of the dead cells. Hence, the function of the microglial cell is also to carry out the phagocytosis, but in the CNS, that is in case of the brain or the spinal cord. So this is the structure of a microglial cell. It contains the cell body, a nucleus, and the microcyte processes that are the branching of the microglial cell. Next type of cell we have is ependymal cells. So the ependymal cells are the type of the epithelial cells and they are arranged in a single layer. They are present in the ventricles of the brain. So in our brain, the ventricles are present. The function of these ventricle is to circulate the CSF, that is the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, the cerebrospinal fluid is being secreted with the help of these ependymal cells. So this is the structure. On the surface of the ependymal cells, the cilia are present. Cilia are the hairy projection. So ependymal cells secrete the CSF in case of the brain and the spinal cord. So the glial cell present in the peripheral nervous system, these are of two types. These are, it may be Schwann cells or maybe satellite cells. So what are the Schwann cells? These are the cells that are flattened in nature and they surround the peripheral nervous system's axon and they help to produce the myelin sheath there. Then we have the satellite cells. The satellite cells are the one which are flattened cells and they are arranged around the cell body of the neuron and they help to protect the cell body. So this is the diagram showing the satellite cell as well as the Schwann cell. So here we can easily see these are the Schwann cell. These are surrounding the axon of the neuron and these are forming the myelin sheath of the neuron and these are the astrocyte satellite cell. These are in close association with the Schwann cell. So the satellite cells are present on the peripheral ganglionic neuron cell body. So with that, the nervous tissues are completed. So what we studied in our this lecture, that there are four type of tissues present in our body. These are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissues and the nervous tissues. So all of them have a specific function, their particular function, such as the epithelial tissue helps in the absorption secretion, whereas the connective tissue help in the binding, the muscular tissue help in the contraction or the movement in case of the skeletal muscles, and the nervous tissue help to carry out various impulses to the other neurons. So these are the references. So with that, my session is over. So we have our next